Thank you for being here today. This is a great day for us in the fire service. We're here to kick off the start of our firefighter cancer bill, which was passed last session. Something that's been a long time coming. Something as firefighters we've been fighting hard for the past over a decade. And a lot of people in this room have been very instrumental and worked extremely hard to get us to this day today. I just wanted to start off quickly and say what this bill actually means for firefighters. So I had the opportunity to testify in support of this bill early last session. And I talked about what a problem cancer is at the national level. It's the #1 killer of firefighters. Nearly 75% of all line of duty deaths are the result of occupational cancer. And I talked a little bit about the impact at the state and our firefighters here in Connecticut, and how at this point it's pretty safe to say that every department in the state has been touched with a case, at least one, usually multiple cases of occupational cancer. And then I got a chance to talk about my friend and coworker, Craig Saris, who was fighting occupational cancer as we were fighting for this bill. And I said that he actually passed away on the morning I was driving up to testify. I got the call that he had passed overnight. And about a week before, he had a conversation with me and asked me directly, what's my family going to be entitled to when I finally go? And that's honestly one of the toughest questions somebody could ask, because at that time, no matter how I tried to sugarcoat it and say we're going to keep fighting for you, we're going to do everything we can, the truth was, the answer was I don't know. Because at that time, his family was guaranteed absolutely nothing. But fast forward to today, I wish he was still with us. I wish he was here to hear the conclusion of this story and get an answer to his question, because starting in a few short weeks on October 1st, no firefighter diagnosed with occupational cancer will have to worry about their job being protected, because it will be. They won't have to worry about medical bills piling up at home, because those will be covered. And they won't have to worry about accessing a disability retirement if they're no longer able to work, because they're covered under that. So they'll be able to focus on the important things, such as their treatment, their recovery, and spending as much critical time with their family and loved ones as possible. So that's what this bill means to us. And for that, we're going to eternally be grateful to all those involved in the process of getting this done. So to kick things off, I'm going to introduce the Chief of the Hartford Fire Department to welcome us here to Hartford, Chief Ronnie Barco.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. And I want to thank everyone that participated in getting this bill passed, all the hard work that they've done. Certainly, our firefighters are grateful because they are doing their part to make cancer prevention a thing. After every fire, they have cancer prevention wipes that they use to clean their bodies. We have policies and procedures in place. Along with the local 760 members, we work diligently to prevent cancer for our members. We work hard as the city and the city and labor to prevent these types of things are happening. The policies that we put in place protect not only us, but the members and their families as well. So welcome, and we thank you all for all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And the Hartford Fire Department, Local 760, they're a shining star in this state. They're our largest fire department and one of our best and brightest. So thank you for everything you do, Chief. Next up, I'm going to invite the mayor of the city of Hartford, Mayor Luke Bronin, who's always been a good friend of this organization and very supportive of this work. So thank you, Mayor.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you to the firefighters all across the state. Thanks to our local 760 and President Jason Diaz. And thank you, Governor. And thank you to this bipartisan coalition of legislators and legislative leaders, Senate President Looney, Speaker Ritter, I think couldn't be here, but I know he's here in spirit and was a big supporter, Majority Leader Duff, and everybody who was a part of making this happen. I also want to acknowledge the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, because municipalities were at the table as part of this process, because we know that we had to come together as municipal leaders, as legislators, as citizens, to make sure that we're doing right by those who run towards danger and put themselves at risk. And we were one of 2 states left in the country that did not have this rebuttable presumption. And so it was time to do it, but because of these legislators standing here, and because of the governor, and because of this partnership of everybody here, it was done right. It was done in a way that funds a fund and sets money aside, but also recognizes that we have to spread that responsibility, because we as a state have to shoulder that responsibility of protecting our firefighters and our families. We've got lots of municipalities of every size, and the risk can be high for any small municipality. This does it in a thoughtful, responsible way, so we can do right by firefighters and make sure that we are doing it in a sustainable, thoughtful way as well. The chief talked about some of the work that we do to try to prevent cancer, and that's critically important, and we'll take that responsibility seriously. And I know that Jason Diaz and our fire union, they take that responsibility seriously. But we also know that our firefighters are exposed to so much throughout their career. This is true of firefighters across the state, but I will say the men and women who serve in this firehouse here on Sisson Avenue, men and women who are part of the Hartford Fire Department, they fight tough fires, and they encounter toxic substances and carcinogens on a regular basis. And they want to protect themselves in every way possible, as do we. But when it doesn't work, and when they pay the price, we have to stand up and shoulder that responsibility to support them. So I'm really grateful for the chance to be here, to say thank you to everybody who made this possible, to acknowledge the broad coalition that did this work together, and to thank you, Governor, and your team for your work, as well as our legislative leaders for their commitment, for the men and women who are a part of this community, who serve this community, and who serve communities like this one all across our state. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. And the Mayor's right, and we appreciate the commitment that our local leaders made and that CCM made early on in the session. You know, they told us it's better to do something collaboratively than to fight every step of the way. So we really appreciate them for stepping up, and all of our local leaders around the state that stepped up and said this needs to be done now. Next up on the list, I'm going to bring up our friend Senate leadership. Senate President Martin Looney, who's a great friend to firefighters, big supporter of us throughout his entire career, instrumental in getting this done. When this bill got proposed, we were lucky enough that there was several different versions of this bill floating around. We ended up running with a Senate bill, 313, that kind of became the one that we highlighted throughout our fight. Senate leadership was there from day one. They were extremely supportive. Senator Julie Kushner from the Labor Committee, she took this on her back and said, this is going to be our year. We're going to get this done, and it had the full support of Senator Looney and Senator Duff. So we are so appreciative of that. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Pete. I think it's appropriate, as we are here today, just a few days before Labor Day, to point out how important it is that we recognize the power of working people, especially those in public service positions like firefighters, the risks that they take. What we're doing here is building upon a precedent that we had set some years ago with the heart and hypertension bill, creating a presumption there for firefighters and police. It is absolutely essential, as the mayor said, to recognize that firefighters put themselves in the risk of cancer with all of the toxic materials they encounter in doing their job to put out fires all the time. Measures are being taken to prevent it, but their risk, every time they put themselves at risk going into a hot fire or another circumstance where there may be chemical spills or whatever, they are putting their health and their lives on the line, potentially affecting their families as well. So I think this is something worth celebrating, and it's something that we worked on hard in the Senate. I know the House did as well. Majority Leader Duff and Senator Austin and Senator Kushner, Senator Lesser, others, we all made this a priority in this session because we know how critical it is. My son is a resident of Hartford. He's the Public Works Director in the city of Hartford, and he's telling me all the time what a great and superb job the Hartford Fire Department does day in and day out. He works closely with them. So I think it's something that we need to celebrate, and today is very appropriate to point that out because what we ask firefighters to do is extraordinary in the level of their risk, and we need to recognize that in our response in terms of public policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And continuing on with that, next up is going to be our Senate Majority Leader, Senator Bob Duff. I'm lucky enough to be a Norwalk firefighter, so I've had a relationship with Senator Duff for pretty much throughout my entire career. Senator Duff is truly a friend of the fire service. He's always been a friend to us in the Norwalk Fire Department. Pick up the phone and he answers it, and anything he can do to help us get something done, he's always there for us. So happy to call him up and call him a friend. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Sadly, I have been to 2 wakes this year in Norwalk for firefighters who died of cancer. One of whom I actually married just a few short years ago, both of whom leave behind devastated families. And the reason, they're both young, and they died because they were firefighters, because of the risks that they took for the public, and the risks day in and day out they made, and the sacrifices they made to do their jobs. And it was incumbent upon us in the Connecticut legislature to acknowledge the dangers of their job and the dangers of the jobs of all the firefighters who are out here today, who put their lives on the line for us here in the state of Connecticut. And to finally get this fund done so that we say as a policy of the state of Connecticut that we will protect you, we will protect your job, we will protect your families, and we will do everything we can to help you. We want to make sure that as we approach September 11th that we don't just have words, but we back that up with actions. And so it is great to be here today with all of my colleagues behind me, Democrats and Republicans who have supported this legislation for many, many years. We couldn't have gotten it done without Pete and the union and all their tenacity over many, many years. And Pete and I have known each other, as he said, for a long time. He's always been there to get the job done. But I have to say that I want to thank especially our Senate President, Senator Looney, for his steadfast support of this for many, many years, because as we all know, in crunch time and the end of the legislative session, these are the times when we have to stand up and say these are the priorities that we have to face. Same with our Speaker, our House Majority Leader as well. These were all collaborative conversations, and again, with all the rank and file legislators behind me who supported this as well. Lastly, I want to just a special shout out to Senator Kushner, who could not be here today, again, who took this on her back as an important issue and something that she believed in totally, so she sends her regards as well. And to thank the governor for getting this over the finish line. As the mayor said, we're only one of 2 states where we did not have this protection, and I'm so glad that we have it again, that we have this finally now. So on behalf of all of the firefighters who are there, we thank you for what you do, and we appreciate the work that you do, and we want to just acknowledge everything and the hard work as you continue to go do your jobs. Thank you, everybody, and let's continue to make sure we protect those who protect us every day.
Thank you. Before I bring up our next speaker, a representative from our international union in Washington and our district vice president from Massachusetts, I just want to take a minute to thank our team, our UPFFA team that worked so hard on this bill, because they don't get enough recognition for all the work that they do. So our principal officers are here, Secretary Lou D'Amici, Treasurer Steve Mikalovic. We have members of our executive board here, our trustees, our legislative committee, our strategic communications committee that works so hard. Our lobbying team is here, Focus Government Affairs. This became this wasn't just about business for them. This was a passion project for them. They spent countless hours at the Capitol helping to fight for this bill, and everything was quarterbacked by our legislative director, Jeff Tomczyk, who, besides being a full-time firefighter, besides having a family at home, young family, he put everything he had into this. And when we had our meeting at the start of this session, he said, "Don't worry, we're gonna get this done." And everybody involved, Jimmy Paolino, Billy Malitsky, their crew, we didn't stop until we got this done. So I want to recognize them. I also want to recognize our Connecticut AFL-CIO president who's here, Ed Hawthorne. Very early on in the process, Ed came to me and said, "Hey, just so you know, this isn't a firefighter bill. This is a labor bill. This is a bill for every working person in the state of Connecticut. We're with you 100%. You have access to all of our resources. You have access to everything that we can throw at this thing. And Ed, we appreciate all your work and your team's work. You helped us get this over the finish line, so thank you." And finally, in the process, you know, we're a small state in Connecticut. We pumped way above our weight class, but we have limited resources, and we really need to lean on our international association for a lot of help. And with us every step of the way is our district vice president, Jay Colbert from Massachusetts. He told us early on, we told him, "This is it. This is the year. We're going to get this done." He said, "All right, I'll believe it when I see it, but we're with you, and we're going to give you everything you need." He connected us with resources in D.C. He connected us with scientists, with doctors, political people, helped us every step of the way, was on the phone for a weekly update on how things were going, and we definitely could not get this done without him. So I'd like to thank Jay Colbert, our district vice president. Invite him to the podium.
Thank you, Pete. And this is a seminal moment in the state of Connecticut for firefighters. As the vice president from New England, it was a little bit of a black mark against me that one of my states still did not have this presumptive language. But collaboratively with the State House, the senators, the representatives, the constitutional officers, the governor, you guys did a terrific job in getting this through. And, you know, we got a pact that we need from politicians, that our job is a dangerous job. We do put our lives on the line for complete strangers. And what we need in response to that is that if something like this occupational cancer, which is killing 75% of our line of duty deaths, are occupational cancer, if we contract cancer and we are to succumb to it, we need to know that our children and our wives, our significant others left behind, will be taken care of. So kudos to the UPFFA and all of the people who made this happen. Our General President, Ed Kelly, has made it his mission to reduce those numbers from 75% to, let's get it down under 50 first and get it down to single digits. But I want to thank all of you who had a small part of this or a big part of this. Collectively, you got it done, and I'm very proud of the state of Connecticut for doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Next up on the program, I'm going to invite local state rep here in Hartford, new to the legislature, came in from day one as a friend and a supporter, somebody that came to our aid right from day one and wanted to be as helpful as possible. State Representative Jimmy Sanchez.
Wow, I just got caught off guard, not prepared. But either way, you know, as a former chair of public safety for the city of Hartford on council, I'm very proud to be here to make this announcement with all my colleagues, with my mayor, with my Senate Majority Leader, and our governor. This is long overdue. All of our firefighters has been putting up their lives for our community. It is time that we finally stepped up to protect our firefighters with this new policy, with this new bill, and to protect not only them, but their family. To protect their family if anything was to happen to that individual firefighter moving on. so that the family can have a future, so their children can have a future. So I'm really proud to be here to announce this bill with my colleagues. Thank you for being here, and congratulations to everyone here.
Thank you. Next up to the podium is a longtime good friend of this organization. As I said, we've been fighting for this for pretty much almost a decade, and I think one of the earliest versions of this bill 9 or 10 years ago was drafted by Senator Kathy Austin. She's been an original supporter of this. She's been a fighter for firefighters, public safety throughout her entire career, and she's somebody that came to us during the process and said, don't back down, don't compromise. You deserve this and you better get it. So I would like to invite her up and thank her for all her hard work and support. Thank you.
So I'm following a lot of people who have said how valuable this piece of legislation is. And along with the value of passing a piece of legislation that finally recognizes that the work that firemen and firewomen do around this state deserves to be recognized. And we have to recognize the amount of times that they go into a building or go to a fire where they know there are chemicals that will give them a long-lasting impact on their life. That's a fact. And we have known that fact for a lot of years. So to see this piece of legislation finally make it across the threshold is a great start. But there are still work that needs to be done. We need to make sure that we are funding it appropriately so those families that are left behind will get the support they need, and I stand committed to do that. Thank you very much for everything you all do. You well deserve this and more. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And as we move on here, I just want to make sure we recognize this great group of legislators we have behind us. You know, I think, as you can see, this is a bipartisan group. This has been a bipartisan process from day one, a collaborative process. You know, I think it's easy for people to say that government's broken or dysfunctional, but that's not the experience that we have here in Connecticut. We've got a group of bipartisan legislators that can come together. They can take a tough problem like firefighter occupational cancer and come to the table and not ask whether we could do this or not, but ask, how can we get this done? And how's the best way to move forward? And what can work for this group but not work for that group? And let's come together and find a solution. And this group here is not an exhaustive group of all the legislators that work in our favor for this, but it's a pretty good representation of who helped us and who was with us from the beginning. So I want to personally thank each and every one of them for standing with us here today and standing with us throughout this entire process. So thank you. And in that spirit, the next representative we're going to invite up is Representative Dave Yaccarino from North Haven. Just briefly want to mention that we lost a firefighter in North Haven last week. And Anthony DeSimone was a good friend, active member of this organization, active part of this process. Spent several days personally at the Capitol fighting for this bill throughout this last session. And it's gone way too soon. Will be sorely missed, and our hearts and our condolences go out to the community of North Haven, the North Haven Fire Department and their members, and Representative Yaccarino and that entire community. So I'd like to invite the representative up.
Thank you, Wal. And today's a bittersweet day for me. First of all, I want to thank the firefighters and thank you for what you do. You and your families, it's amazing. I become very close to a lot of our firefighters. And I would say if we as politicians, we are today, which is a great thing, followed what you do, we'd be a better world and a better state. But I think we're getting there, and I think bills like this help us, help families with cancer, help their families. But for me, it's a bittersweet day because Anthony, like Pete said, since I've been a legislator for 13 years, 12 of those years, I've advocated for this bill along with many of my fellow legislators, men and women, Democrats and Republicans. But he came up right to the end of the session with Lieutenant Fox and himself advocating year after year, and especially this year, So I'm here just to say, to me, I'm dedicating this bill, cancer bill, presumption bill, to Anthony DeSimone, one of my best friends. And he would greatly appreciate this. And to me, this is the memory of Anthony DeSimone. But really, thank you all. There's nothing like a fire department. I see it firsthand. My cousins were firefighters in New York City. You guys and women work so hard. You're a family, and I think it's very important. So thank you all. God bless you all. And thanks to everybody here. But like Senator Austin said, we have to fund this year after year. We can't just have lip service. We have to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I know Anthony's looking down at us today, and he's smiling, so thank you. And then next up on our list, another one of our great Republican friends, someone who's with us on this, not just this year, but in many previous sessions, trying to get something done, trying to work towards our ultimate goal, and that's Representative Dave Ritigliano. Good friend, always willing to solve problems, always willing to have an open door and talk through and find a solution. So thank you.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. A few years ago, the genesis of this bill is we had a version of it about 9 years ago. And I had the honor at that time to sit across the table from you brave men and women, some municipal leaders, and Representative Cook, who really was the driving force of the bill. We believe in that bill, that original bill, that we found a workable solution going forward so that an organization like the Firefighter Association could take care of their own people. We thought it was very important that they'd have a say in how the benefits were doled out and who got what and who managed the money and sort of take the state out of it. So we achieved that, and I thought that was something that we should all be very proud of. That bill also at the time included provisions in there that the idea was to keep firefighters from getting sick in the first place. It has many protections in there. It has screening in there so that we could find out if they have cancer, and if they do have cancer, we could find it early. So the idea was for these folks to live. This isn't supposed to be a death benefit. This was supposed to be protection, and that's how we win it. So while we thought that program has always been sound, we struggled with a permanent funding mechanism. So I do want to take a moment to congratulate the governor, the budget writing committees, my friends in the majority for finally putting to bed how we were going to fully fund this program, and I'm so glad we were able to accomplish that. And we as House Republicans fully support it. We fully support the fire service. So thank you very much for having me, and good luck. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Representative. We do appreciate those years and years of great support. Last up, I get the honor to introduce our great governor. I'll tell you quickly what I think he brought to this fight, this session. We were getting down late in session. We were trying to figure out a solution. We were working through some problems, and at some point, someone said, I think we have to talk to the governor and have him weigh in on this. So I may have purposely, accidentally ran into him at a press conference somewhere and said, Governor, can I talk to you for 1 second? We're really trying to get this firefighter cancer bill passed. We're right down on the goal line. We just need some help and some support and figure out how to get this done. And he was busy, he's running around, and he said, yeah, let's talk about it. And that could have been the end of it. He could have walked away and went on with his day. But I think within a half hour, somebody from his team tracked me down, said, Governor said we got to talk, let's set something up. And by that afternoon, we were sitting down in a room with some of his policy people and some legislators, and we were pounding through the final details of getting this bill done. And I think that's what this governor does. It's what he does for us each and every day in this state. He's a problem solver. He gets people together. He talks about the problem, and he finds a solution. And that's all we can ask for in our leadership in our government. So I'm proud to call him my governor. I'm honored to introduce him today, and I'm grateful for all the work he's done for firefighters, not just on this issue, but so many important issues throughout his career. So the Honorable Ned Lamont.
All right, Peter, so let's keep running into each other with these oppressed things with more amazing ideas that make a difference and show our respect for our first responders. And good ideas shows the government works. Comes right from you, right from the firefighters, talking to these folks here on a bipartisan basis, what we're able to get done. And I'm so proud that of the group standing here with me. You really turned the cameras over to men and women over there. I mean, since we've been here for the last 20 minutes, one group ran out on a emergency response. I heard a loud bell ringing. I don't think it was somebody calling to say, what are you doing later tonight? I think this is the nature of what our firefighters do every day, keeping us safe. You look around the country, you look around the world, you see the world ablaze in many cases. And it just reminds you what it means to be an essential worker, how important our firefighters are every day. You're out there in Montana, you've been up in Canada, taking care of blazes right here in the great city of Hartford. And it's one thing to say you're essential workers, it's another thing to say you're heroes. Oh, we can do, but this is a show of respect. This is what it means. I see the risk you're putting yourself. Look, I used to think firefighting was all about the physical risks you had. 9/11, for me, was a bit of a wake-up call. I mean, when those buildings were ablaze, I was taking a free train out of the city that day, going the other direction, and you and your brothers and sisters were running into that burning building, and the incredible tragedy. And then we learned many more people died from cancer from that. And this is a reminder of the incredible risk that people take every day on behalf of you, the public, here in the state of Connecticut, and those people at risk within those buildings going forward. I was reminded of this when I first took office. You know, we did an event similar to this, Pete, down at a firehouse in Waterbury, and that was PTSD. And that was, again, the presumption that PTSD, many of those people had been witness to what happened at Sandy Hook and the long-term effects of that, what that meant in terms of mental health. And what does this presumption mean? You know what it means is we try and do a lot of good things in state government, but sometimes we just make it too damn complicated. And you have to presume this and show this. Pete, I think what this is meaning right now is no questions asked. You have a cancer, you're afflicted, and it's incredible. 75%, is that what you said? It's extraordinary. We're there front line saying, you've been our partners running into these burning buildings. We're your partners going forward and help you get through this and come back. And as Marty said, this is a fitting start to Labor Day week. And these are folks every day who take care of each and every one of us. And it shouldn't just be on Labor Day that we remind people what they do. And, you know, these guys, they can't Zoom, they can't decide to go work remote one day. They're here every day during the most trying of circumstances, keeping us safe. That's what Labor Day is all about, and that's what this bill is all about. Thanks to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody that was involved in this program today. That's the end of our speaking program. I think we'd be happy to answer any questions, Governor, or any of us, if anybody has anything.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you all.